Hello and welcome to the Chelsea Fans Channel. It is my absolute honour to be joined here today by my childhood hero, Mr. Kerry Dixon. Kerry, how are you?
Well, I'm fine, thank you, and I thank you all for coming down to the launch of the book, and hopefully you'll all get a read of it and put it out to your, well, watchers, to the masses if you want, whoever watches your channel, and hope this is what it's all about.
Kerry, it's called Up Front in all good bookshops. And what can our viewers expect to read about when they pick it up?
Well, pretty much it is what it said. It's up front. It's my life, the highs, the lows. There's been both, of course. I mean, many Chelsea fans would remember the highs. We can relive their memories, of course, in the book. But sadly, the last few years, culminating in my rise to the top, there's been a downward spiral. And obviously, many people would be aware of I was in prison last year, and obviously the book deals in depth with that situation as well, and various addictions to gambling and how it affected the life, and pretty much it's been my life as it is.
So it's a no holds barred sort of retelling. You haven't pulled any punches, it sounds like.
Well, I haven't pulled too many punches. There's been one or two that's had to be pulled, but that was on certain advice. But nevertheless, I think you're going to get 80% of my life in its entirety as it is viewed by myself.
So talking about the good times, the good old days, Kerry, when you think of Chelsea Football Club, like, what does it mean to you? What do the fans mean to you? Because you've got a very special relationship with the Chelsea fans.
Well, obviously, Chelsea fans have always been fantastic to me. And that goes back to the very day made the debut, if you like, very first appearance in 1983. There was 15,000 there. By the end of that season, there was 40,000 regular. Well, probably about Christmas time of that season, there was 40,000 on a regular basis, and by and large, it's been 40,000 every time I've been to the bridge. And yes, you're quite right. I do have an affinity with the Chelsea fans. It's something special. Many fans share many great memories with me, and not necessarily my memories, but what happened at Highbury, whether they were there, they were in the clock end.
This is it. This is what
They were at Grimsby. I was there.
We couldn't have an interview with you, Kerry, without talking about that goal. For those of you that haven't seen it, make sure you YouTube it. Kerry Dixon volley against Arsenal.
Those who wasn't there, just look at the masses that were there. They're probably your father or your uncle or whoever it was, and they'll tell you all about it. And say things like that.
The crowd reaction was unbelievable.
It wasn't just for me. It's something you'll never see again. It was a goal for all Chelsea fans, and away at Highbury, morning kick-off, and okay, it was a decent goal, and it was against a decent side. But the Chelsea fans have been waiting such a long time for that sort of situation away at Arsenal again. We were a good side. We were behind, and no one ever thought that amount of Chelsea fans would pack into that area. They weren't just in the clock end. You turned around when I scored. They were all the way up the sides, up both sides. Some even said they were in the North Bank, but Arsenal fans who I've met reassure me that they weren't, but nevertheless, they were everywhere else. Yeah. And it was a great day.
For me, Kerry, a goal I'd love to talk to you about, a personal favourite of mine, would have been the lob against Spurs. I think we beat them 4-1 at White Hart Lane, and I think Eric Torsvet was their goalie, and you hit a first-time lob that was absolutely sublime. I remember trying it out over and over the park with my mates. Talk me through that one. Do you remember it?
Well, as much went to the pass, I made a run, and Graham Roberts hit a great ball. Obviously I was a quick player, and looking, people who were aware of that and could pass the ball. Graham was a good addition later on, albeit he played for Spurs for a period of time and is arguably a Spurs legend. But he hit a decent ball, and I saw Torsfed threatening to come, knew I had to get to it before he did, and sure enough, caught it on the volley and lobbed it over him and set us on the way to another emphatic win at what's now it used to be 3 Point Lane, but Tottenham fans assure me that's changed now, but I'm not so sure.
I'm not so sure either. Let's talk about the modern day Chelsea team. And Eden Hazard, he's won Player of the Month this month. How does he compare to some of the great players you played against? How good is Hazard?
Well, I've gone on record of saying he can be as good as he wants to be. He's got to be positive. He's got to be a team player. He's got to be what he was taking defences on 2 years ago. And sadly, not the Eden Hazard that we saw last year. And I'm not necessarily going to say or blame him. There was things going on last year, without doubt, that upset people within the camp. And it didn't appear to be a happy camp. Hence, we got the season we got last season. Not just from Eden Hazard, from numerous players. I think if we get him back, he can be the difference. Not going to say it's a one-man team by any stretch of the imagination, but he can prove the difference in tight games. You know, he can unlock a defence that's come to Stamford Bridge and sat in. He can produce a bit of magic. And he started the season very well on a positive note. Put Diego Costa's goals and hopefully a few more goals on top this season. And Chelsea will challenge. I mean, the Manchester pair are going to offer a good fight, for the title. And I think Arsenal will join in. Tottenham and Liverpool will have a say, but I think Chelsea and Arsenal have got it all to do to topple the Manchester clubs this year. And that's not to say we can't do it, but as I've stressed, Eden Hazard, Diego Costa, and indeed a solid tight defence, coupled with a few extra goals from midfield, and we'll be there or thereabouts.
Yeah, I'm feeling quite positive. You touched on Diego Costa there. Kerry is a fellow striker. How do you find Diego? Is he the sort of chap you would have liked to have played up front with?
Oh yes, people often used to say that, you know, big guys don't play well together, but myself and Colin Lee didn't play too bad together. Gary Lineker's 5'10", and you know, you can play alongside bigger fellas. Diego Costa offers something which I wouldn't have offered. He's a bit in the way of David Speedy in types of his aggression and the way he plays. He gets more goals than David, but you know, they've all got their ways. It's all about, you know, I've never seen a formation win a football match. I would like personally to see a bit more support for Diego Costa. I know the modern day football, and certainly Chelsea, have gone on about one striker and they play two defensive midfield players. I'd love to go back to seeing two strikers and possibly one holding midfield player and trying a different system. Who's to say David Luiz couldn't play just in front as a holding player? We've got, you know, Kante, we've got various other players who can play in that position now. Matic. Sadly for them, I'd like to see one of them be not dropped, but be disbanded. I'm not asking for players to be dropped. It's whatever works. Yes. And if it works for Chelsea, we win the game and we get 3 points, great. But as a striker, I'd like to see a little bit more support for Diego. And if that means an extra striker, then so be it. And we've got to find it from somewhere.
Kerry, what are your if you could put your hand on the table now and say where Chelsea are going to finish this season with, you know, Conte at the helm, being positive, what would you say?
There's all sorts of fingers being pointed at me doing that, but if I'm listen, and I'm a bad gambler, history tells you that, I would say that, but I hope for that like everyone else. You know, let's see what happens. I think and I hope Antonio Conte will be a success. Success for Chelsea Football Club is about results. He'll be judged by that. Let's just wait and see. We'll be there or thereabouts. If we get harmony in the dressing room and everything's good and we're all buzzing, and Eden Hazard, Diego Costa, we're all solid defence, it might be that.
Well, from Chelsea's third all-time top goal scorer, Kerry, thank you so much for talking to us. Don't forget to hit the shops, get Kerry Dixon up front, his autobiography, get it now. Kerry, thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Cheers.